What's going on, you guys? I'm back here again. I have a brand new song, a brand new mix to work on, and show you guys the behind the scenes process of how I go about mixing a song currently. So this song is by my friend Matthew Webb, and check it out. We're just gonna dive in right from the beginning and show you guys the mixing process. So here we have the track, and looks like I've took out a few tracks that aren't needed. So the first thing I want to do is kind of organize my session. Organization is very important in mixing. You can't mix efficiently if you're not organized. So one of the ways that I do this is I go through the tracks and find my drums first. So let's find these drums. Make sure this is solo save. So these are all drum tracks. So since they're all drum tracks, I'm going to label them as red. That's just my color of choice. Let's see if we have any other drum tracks, any other waveforms that look like drum tracks. Usually the waveforms that look like drum tracks are very spiky or very blocky like this. They don't have a lot of dynamic range since they're playing the same hits all the time. These are all tracks that I'm not using, so let's put those to the side. Keep your session organized. I think that's all the drum tracks I have. Here goes another inactive track. And so now that I have the drums, these are my music tracks. I usually like to keep my music tracks blue. So that's actually a vocal. So we're gonna make that, I like to make my vocals purple. And I'll put that with the other vocals there. Let's see what else we got. It's a guitar. It's like a, that's like an 808, I'd call it. So I'll put that, the 808, I don't consider it drums. I consider it like a bass instrument, so I like to put it near my drum tracks, right there. This is some chords, some guitar. All right, so we got some hi-hats here. Hi-hats. So we'll make this red as well and put that with the rest of these tracks, with the drum tracks. Okay.
That's why they mad at me. They see me climbing up.
Alright, cool. Yeah, these were all old tracks that I didn't need to use. Alright, cool. So now that I have my tracks color coordinated, I'm gonna start adding some buses. So some aux sends. So I'll just create 10 because I'll use these later on. And we'll label one of them as drums, the other one music, the other one vocals. And so now what I want to do is I want to route my drum tracks, which are red, to the drum aux. So I'm going to hold down, I'm on PC. So this is for PC people. I'm gonna hold down Alt-Shift. I'm gonna click the output and I'm gonna go to drums. So now all these drum tracks in red are routing through my drum aux. I'm gonna solo save all these. You can solo save by clicking Control and clicking the solo button. That just means that whenever the audio plays like this, for example,
Achieving new.
It's going to always come in and you'll always be able to hear it. So now let's route the music tracks to the music and all these vocal tracks to the vocals. And then all of these tracks, I'm going to route to the mix bus. So I routed my drum, music, and vocals, which all the tracks are being routed through these three. I'm routing all those three through a mix bus. And on the mix bus, I'll be able to apply EQ, compression, whatever I want to do later on. All right, so now we can start balancing the mix and just getting some healthy levels of balance. So I'll play the track from top and I'll just use my faders over here and balance the mix.
Beverage. Niggas riding on the wave, on the wave, on the wave. It's man Richie, we the wave, yeah. And you know we on the wave, on the wave, on the wave. And you know we on the wave, yeah. Niggas riding on the wave, on the wave, on the wave. It's man Richie, we the wave, yeah. And you know we on the way, on the way, on the way. And you know we on the way, we on the way, yeah.
I'm living life like this a fantasy. No guarantee if this is meant to be. I gotta reach higher every day. Build an empire, I would say. Hey, all these haters, why they mad at me? They see it's reality. Achieving new goals, just had to kick out all the fakes that I used to know. I gotta make it, never looking back or taking L's. They look to see me well, I put on for my team, and for the reason we can all exhale and celebrate the moments we done been through hell. I set my own goals, I pick up what you can't hold, never give up my soul. I'm letting my dreams unfold, cause I gotta wait.
Niggas riding on the wave, on the wave, on the wave. It's man Richie, we the wave, yeah. And you know we on the way, on the way, on the way. And you know we on the way, yeah. Niggas riding on the wave, on the wave, on the wave. We the wave, yeah. And you know we on the way, on the way, on the way. And you know we on the way, we on the way, yeah.
So right there, I already started to get a little more balance in the track. I'm starting to hear kind of all the elements through my mix so far. So what I'm gonna do at this point is I'm gonna put a limiter on. And the goal of this is I wanna hear the song as if it were at levels near mastering. Because this is gonna allow me to make better mix decisions later on. So let's play a part where a lot of stuff is going on, such as right here.
No guarantee if this is meant to be. I gotta reach higher every day. Build an empire, I would say. Hey, all these haters, why they mad at me? They see me climbing up to face reality. Achieving new goals, just how I roll. Had to kick out all the fakes that I used to know. I gotta make it, never looking back or taking L's. They look to see me fall, guess you don't know me well. I put on for my team, and for the reason we can all exhale and celebrate the moments we done been through hell. I set my own goals, I pick up what you can't hold, never give up my soul.
So a cool thing that I noticed right here is we have two mono guitars and they're actually playing similar notes. So I believe that the artist wanted these to sound more stereo. So a simple thing I can do with that is just do sound field and choose an S1 imager if you have this plugin by Waves. And I'm basically just gonna pan one guitar left and the other right just to see if we get more of a stereo effect, since these two instruments are very similar in how they're played. So that's kind of nice. And what I'll do next is I'll actually, since they're very similar, I'm gonna create an aux and just call this guitars. And I'm going to bus both of these to the guitar aux so I can affect them together. So let's find the guitars, boom. Solo save that. So on PC, Control S if you are a PC guy like me. So you can see here it's coming through the guitars now, the guitar aux. And we're gonna send the output of this back through our music because we want all the music tracks at the end of the day going through our music, right? So we're sending it back to our music track, which is here. Cool.
Niggas riding on the wave, on the wave, on the wave. It's man Richie, we the wave, we the wave.
So we got a similar thing here with these background vocals. It's kind of like a double, they're doing the same thing.
Niggas riding on the wave.
We could pan one left.
It's man Richie, we the wave.
And you can see instantly that made it a lot more wider, a lot more
man Richie,
interesting.
We the wave. And you know we on the wave.
So let's take that out.
Man Richie, we the wave, we the wave, yeah. And you know we on the wave, on the wave, on.
So one thing I like to do is add a little auto-tune to the vocals just to tighten them up. So I'm gonna find the key of the song. I just have this little mini keyboard right here, and I like to.
Man Richie, we the wave, yeah.
So G is the bass note of this key. It sounds like it's G major to me. So
man Richie, we the wave, yeah. And you know we on the way.
So I'll just focus at the moment on just tuning one vocal.
Man Richie, we the wave.
So let's go to pitch and let's get an auto tune. And we want to put in our key, which is G major, which we just found with the piano app. And
man Richie, we the wave. And you know we on the way. And you know we on the way. Niggas riding on the wave.
so I like to put the humanize all the way up just because, especially for a song like this, the sound of auto-tune is really not important. You want to hear the vocal. So we're going to throw the humanize all the way up. And the retune speed, I just like to get it to a point where I'm not hearing the auto-tune as much. I'm not hearing the sound of the auto-tune. I'm just hearing the auto-tune actually tune that vocal to where it needs to be.
Man Richie, we the wave. And you know we on the way. And you know we on the way.
So that's pretty good at 10. So I'll copy that to the other vocal. So now those vocals are more in tune.
Riding on the wave, on the wave, on the wave. It's man Richie, we the wave, yeah. And you know we on the wave, on the wave, on the way. And you know we on the way, we on the way, yeah. Niggas riding on the wave, on.
So now knowing that section, that part in this song is kind of like a background vocal, I'm gonna get a plate reverb going. And for the plate reverb, I'm just going to do, let's pick, we have a lot. Let's do a Valhalla plate. Let's bring that down, usually somewhere right there. Add a little bit of pre-delay, something like that. And I actually want to do a bus for these vocals here, right? Let's just call it back Vox 1. Since these are similar and doing the same thing, I want to be able to affect them together through, using the same plugin. So to do that, I'm going to route them to a bus. Let's see, where's back Vox? Man, if someone has a way of locating what you just typed in for these auxes and locating it better, let me know, because that definitely gets annoying. But here we go. And then again, this has to go to the vocals.
Riding on the wave, on the wave, on the wave.
So now I'm able to send this signal over to the plate reverb. So it should be called plate. There it is. And we'll solo save that. And we'll also do the output of this into the vocals. Because if I change the volume of the vocal bus, for example, here, this is going to stay consistent if I did not route this to the vocals. And we don't want that, because if my vocals go down, I also want that reverb to go down so that the balance is the same. So that's why we do that.
Riding on the wave, on the wave, on the wave. It's Matt Ritchie, we the wave, yeah. And you know we on the wave, on the wave, on the wave. And you know we on the wave, we on the way, yeah. Niggas riding on the wave, on the wave, on the wave. It's Matt Ritchie, we the way, yeah. And you know we on the way, on the way.
So I like that. I kind of wanted to hear some of the tail of the reverb. It's making those vocals that are more like background vocals sit in the background. So now I'm going to EQ it. I want to hear some more shimmer in the reverb. So I'm going to boost some high end, cut off some lows. Check it out.
Riding on the wave, on the wave, on the wave. It's Matt Ritchie, we the way, yeah. And you know we on the wave, on the wave, on the wave. And you know we on the way, we on the way, yeah. Niggas riding on the wave, on the wave, on the wave. It's Matt Ritchie, we the way, yeah. And you know we on the way, on the way, on the way. And you know we on the way, we on the way, yeah.
I'm living life like this.
Let's go back to it.
Niggas riding on the wave, on the wave, on the wave. It's Matt Ritchie, we the way, yeah. And you know we on the wave, on the wave, on the way. And you know we on the way, we on the way, yeah. Niggas riding on the wave, on the wave, on the wave. It's Matt Ritchie, we the way, yeah. And you know we on the way, on the way.
So that's not bad. So I'll leave it there just for now, just because it's creating some more space in the mix and allowing me to adjust other things. So
niggas riding on the wave, on the wave, on the wave. It's Matt Ritchie, we the way, yeah. And you know we on the wave.
So one thing I can do, I'm instantly hearing right now too, is just add a little compression to these vocals. I'm just gonna go for the SSL channel. Go to around, 2.3 ratio is very natural sounding. And let's add some compression.
Niggas riding on the wave, on the wave, on the wave. It's Matt Ritchie, we the way, yeah. And you know we on the wave, on the wave.
So as you can see here, sometimes your audio, this audio right here is not loud enough to engage the threshold of this compressor. So what I'm going to do is just put more of the ratio in, which is going to feed more of the audio into the compressor and compress it more.
Niggas riding on the wave, on the wave, on the wave. It's Matt Ritchie, we the way, yeah. And you know we on the wave, on the wave, on the wave. And you know we on the way, we on the way.
So sometimes that doesn't work either, and you don't get the type of audio that you need to come into the compressor. So I may need to play with the input.
Niggas riding on the way.
As you can see, the volume of the vocals in general are pretty low. So let's bring the input up 6 dB. We'll bring the output down 6 dB as well, match it for now.
Niggas riding on the wave, on the wave, on the wave. It's Matt Ritchie, we the way, yeah. And you know we on the wave, on the wave, on the wave. And you know we on the way, we on the way, yeah. Niggas riding on the wave.
What the heck? All right, input. Oh, sorry. Trim. I want the trim to go up 6 dB.
Niggas riding on the wave, on the wave, on the wave. It's Matt Ritchie, we the way, yeah. And you know we on the wave, on the.
So now that I put the trim up and put more gain into the plugin, let's try and see if we can get some more compression.
Niggas riding on the wave, on the wave.
Still not enough. So let's actually boost this more. Let's go 9 dB.
Niggas riding on the wave, on
Now the compressor is starting to engage.
niggas riding on the wave, on the wave, on the wave. It's Matt Ritchie, we the way, yeah. And you know we on the wave, on the wave, on the way. And you know we on the.
I still want more compression, so I'm gonna feed into the compressor more volume of the vocal.
Niggas riding on the wave, on the wave, on the wave. It's man Richie, we the wave, we the wave.
So now that sounded pretty good to me. What I basically wanted to achieve with this compressor is to get those background vocals, the volume of it just a little bit more consistent. So now I'm gonna boost back this output.
Niggas riding on the wave, on the wave, on the wave. It's man Richie, we the wave, we the wave, yeah. And you know we on the wave, on the wave, on the wave. And you know we on the wave, we on the wave, yeah.
Let's bypass it, see what we did.
Niggas riding on the wave, on the wave, on the wave. It's man Richie, we the wave.
Let's put it back in.
Niggas riding on the wave, on the wave, on the wave. It's man Richie, we the wave, we the wave, yeah. And you know we on the wave, on the.
It's cool. It's kind of, these background vocals are almost acting like a chorus in this part of the song. So I'm actually gonna boost some high end to give it more sheen.
Niggas riding on the wave, on the wave, on the wave. It's man Richie, we the wave, we the wave, yeah. And you know we on the wave, on the wave, on the wave. And you know we on the wave, we on the wave, yeah. Niggas riding on the wave, on the wave, on the wave. It's man Richie, we the wave, we the wave, yeah.
That sounds good to me. So let's go to a different thing in the song. Let's hear.
On the way, on the way.
And you know we on the way,
We on the way, yeah. I'm living life like this a fantasy. No guarantee if this is meant to be. I gotta reach higher every day. Build an empire, I would say. Hey, all these haters, why they?
You know, I'm not sure. Sometimes a client will give you a song or an artist will give you a song. And sometimes, you know, I don't know if they want this 808 tuned to this note. I think it could be tuned to the actual key of the song and be much more beneficial to the song. But sometimes this is just what they wanted. I'm going to tune it and then see what the artist thinks. And if they want to tune the 808 back to its original state, they can.
it's man Richie, we the wave, we the wave, yeah.
So right now it's, let's see what note this is playing. We want it to play that G. That's the note that we want for the 808. So it needs to actually, it needs to tune up. So I'm gonna go to the audio suite, pitch shift. Let's hear it. Let's go up one chorus tone, one semitone. Let's get our note back. It's G. Interesting. So this particular 808 doesn't really have a tone. It doesn't have a tone that is easy to understand or pitch. So I'm just gonna leave it for now.
We on the way, yeah.
Niggas riding on the wave,
On the way, on the way.
it's man Richie, we the wave,
We the way, yeah.
and you know we on the way,
On the way, on the way.
and you know we on the way.
We on the way, yeah. I'm living life like this a fantasy. No guarantee if this is meant to be. I gotta reach higher every day. Build an empire, I would say. Hey, all these haters, why they mad at me? They see me climbing up the.
So I just wanted to balance that 808 a little bit more with the kick. Let's actually work on the vocal now. So here we are with the vocal.
I'm living life like this a fantasy. No guarantee if this is meant to be. I gotta reach higher every day.
So the first thing I noticed is that it's really a mono vocal, but they exported it in a stereo format. So I'm just gonna pan both sides up. That way it's more clear. It's not a ghost mono, but it's actually a real mono. When you have like a mono signal that is panned left and right, it's called a ghost mono. It just attenuates the volume of the mono slightly. So I'm gonna pan it straight up.
Living life like this a fantasy. No guarantee if this is meant to be. I gotta reach higher every day. Build an empire, I would say.
I want to give this a little bit of space in the mix so I can hear it more clearly of where I want it and play with it that way. So let's add some reverb.
Living life like this a fantasy. No guarantee if this is meant to be. I gotta reach higher every day. Build an empire, I would say.
So that's a little bit better. It gives me a little more space to work with the vocal.
Living life like this a fantasy.
So immediately I hear some de-essing I could do. Some S's. I usually want to take that out of the vocal first. So let's hear.
Living life like this a fantasy. No guarantee if this is meant to be.
So right there, I used the FabFilter Pro DS and I just wanted to audition the area, the frequency area where I'm getting the most sibilance. So now I'm gonna play with the range and find a sweet spot where I'm not taking out too much of the S sound, but I'm suppressing it so it's not harsh. So let's put it back to 0 and roll it down.
Living life like this a fantasy. No guarantee if this is meant to be. I gotta reach higher every day. Build an empire, I would say. Hey, all these haters, why they mad at me? They see me climbing up to face reality.
So that sounded pretty good. I'm hearing there's some background noise in this vocal. Let's hear it again.
I'm living life like this a fantasy. No guarantee if this is meant to be. I gotta reach higher every day. Build an empire.
So to do that, we can try using a gate. Sometimes this can't work because gates can be tricky. They can take out some of the breaths in the vocal. I'll actually do this before the de-esser. But let's see if the gate works.
I'm living life like this a fantasy. No guarantee if this is meant to be. I gotta reach high.
So right there is about the threshold of where I want the gate to hit, but I have to allow space for the gate to work so that it's not just directly chopping off the breaths and all those good sounds that we actually want in the vocal. So this section is the range of the gate, and I'm gonna bring it down.
I'm living life like this a fantasy. No guarantee if this is meant to be. I gotta reach higher every day. Build an empire, I would say. Hey, all these haters, why they mad at me? They see me climbing up to face reality. Achieving new goals, just how I roll. Had to kick out all the fakes that I used to know I gotta make. I'm living life like this a fantasy. No guarantee if this is meant to be. I gotta reach higher every day. Build an empire, I would say. All these haters, why they mad at me? They see me climbing up to face reality. Achieving new goals, just how I roll. Had to kick out all the fakes that I used to know I gotta make it. Never looking back or taking L's. They look to see me fall, guess you don't know me well. I put on for my team and for the reason we can all exhale and celebrate the moments we done been through hell. I set my own goal. I'm living life like this a fantasy. No guarantee if this is meant to be. I gotta reach higher every day.
So that's not bad. So basically, I set the gate so that the attack here is slow so that it doesn't bite down on his vocals as he's breathing. The release, I also increased the release to make it a little bit more smoother. So the whole point of having a gate is you want to have it sound as natural as possible on the vocal. A poorly set gate by amateur is easy to tell because the vocal is coming in sporadic or hitting too hard or breathing too hard. It just doesn't sound natural. You want it to sound natural as if nothing was there. So I think I got that set good now. So let's hear how the vocal is.
I'm living life like this a fantasy. No guarantee if this is meant to be. I gotta reach higher every day. Build an empire, I would say. Hey, all these haters, why they mad at me? They see me climbing up to face reality.
So I think at this point, it would be good to do a little bit of EQ. There's some bass in his voice that could be suppressed a little bit. So I'm going to use this EQ here. I'm going to first and foremost take out all of the lows that I definitely don't think the vocal needs to clear up the vocal and in the mix a little bit more. So here we go.
I'm living life like this a fantasy. No guarantee if this is meant to be. I gotta reach higher every day.
So more than likely, he's not going to need anything below 110. So now let's use this. I'm going to solo safe it. And I solo safe, I'm going to solo the frequency range. And I want to start ducking some of the bass and low mids in his voice.
I'm living life like this a fantasy. No guarantee if this is meant to be.
So it's basically there. So the range, we got to do, you know, some negative range because we want to duck. And then right here, we just dial in the threshold.
I'm living life like this.
Make sure to turn it on too.
I'm living life like this a fantasy. No guarantee if this is meant to be. I gotta reach higher every day. Build an empire, I would say. Hey, all these haters, why they mad at me? They see me climbing up to face reality. Achieving new goals, it's just how I roll.
So that sounds pretty good to me now. The low end is kind of tamed in his voice. So let's play this in the mix and hear how it sounds.
I'm living life like this a fantasy. No guarantee if this is meant to be. I gotta reach higher every day. Build an empire, I would say. Hey, all these haters, why they mad at me? They see me climbing up to face reality.
So at this point now, I think the vocal could be compressed. And I like the sound of, I'm hearing the sound of the SSL channel just because I want a really tight, attacky kind of vocal for this. And the SSL compressor definitely does that for you. So let's compress this vocal a bit and see what kind of sound we get.
I'm living life like this a fantasy. No guarantee if this is meant to be. I gotta reach high.
So I want to get a little bit more compression. So I'm going to trim this up 3 dB.
I'm living life like this a fantasy. No guarantee if this is meant to be. I gotta reach higher every day.
So right there, I'm getting a nice compression. And now what I want to do is play with the release so that the vocal is attacky, is moving, is breathing. It's not clamped down by the compressor.
I'm living life like this a fantasy. No guarantee if this is meant to be. I gotta reach higher every day.
So I really like that. And now I'm just gonna bring down the volume.
I'm living life like this a fantasy. No guarantee if this is meant to be. I gotta reach higher every day. Build an empire, I would say. Hey, all these haters, why they mad at me? They see me climbing up to face reality. Achieving new goals, it's just how I roll. Had to kick out all the fakes that I used to know. I gotta make it, never looking back or taking L's. They look to see me fall, guess you don't know me well. I put on for my team and for the reason we can all exhale and celebrate the moments we done been through hell. I set my own goals. I pick up what you can't hold. Never give up my soul. I'm letting my dreams unfold, cause I gotta wait.
Niggas riding on the wave. It's man Richie, we the way. And you know we on the way. And you know we on the way. Niggas riding on the wave. It's man Richie, we the way. And you know we on the way. And you know we on the way.
So that sounded pretty good. Let's play that back one more time.
I'm living life like this a fantasy. No guarantee if this is meant to be. I gotta reach higher every day. Build an empire, I would say. Hey, all these haters, why they mad at me? They see me climbing up to face reality.
I think at this point now, I just want to add a little bit of EQ to the vocal to just make it shine in this mix of how I have it at this point, and then move on. So let's just EQ the vocal just a bit.
I'm living life like this a fantasy.
So I'm still getting a lot of lows that I'm not liking so much. So I'm gonna do a bell shape on the low frequency band here, and I'm gonna go all the way down, and I'm gonna start to move this up until I hear that the vocal starts to get a little bit too thin, and then I'm gonna boost back some volume. And this is gonna help me just tame the low end in a natural way for this vocal. So here we go.
I'm living life like this a fantasy. No guarantee if this is meant to be. I gotta reach higher every day. Build an empire, I would say.
So that's sounding good to me right there. Let's play it in the track.
I'm living life like this a fantasy. No guarantee if this is meant to be. I gotta reach higher every day. Build an empire, I would say. Hey, all these haters, why they mad at me? They see me climbing up to face reality. Achieving new goals, it's just how I roll. Had to kick out all the fakes that I used to know. I gotta make it, never looking back or taking L's. They look to see me fall, guess you don't know me well.
So I think the only other thing I want to add is a little bit of sheen to the vocal at this point. So let's add a little bit of high end.
Living life like this a fantasy. No guarantee if this is meant to be. I gotta reach higher every day. Build an empire, I would say. Hey, all these haters, why they mad at me? They see me climbing up to face reality.
So what I actually added right there was what we call air in the vocal. At first I thought it was a sheen that I wanted, but it ended up being just a little bit of air on the vocal to make it sound like it's very present and upfront in the mix, which is what we want. So let's figure out where we want the gain now of this band.
Living life like this a fantasy. No guarantee if this is meant to be. I gotta reach higher every day. Build an empire, I would say. Hey, all these haters, why they mad at me? They see me climbing up to face reality.
So you can see right there, the vocal is now sounding more present and upfront in the mix. But let's actually try and de-ess the vocal a little bit more. And we still have this this compressor, which kind of is like an EQ compressor. So we actually can find that frequency where it's really harsh and needs to de-ess more and just duck it with this. So let's find that now.
I'm living life like this a fantasy.
Let's widen this cue so we can hear some more frequencies. I'd say it's right around there. I need to move, oops. Undo that. I need to move this away. Okay, there we go. So now we want to put the range down and let's compress.
I'm living life like this a fantasy. No guarantee if this is meant to be. I gotta reach higher every day. Build it.
So we just want to do just that. So now the S's are a little bit more controlled. Let's hear it in the mix.
I'm living life like this a fantasy. No guarantee if this is meant to be. I gotta reach higher every day. Build an empire, I would say. Hey, all these haters, why they mad at me? They see me climbing up the face.
It sounded pretty good. I think I want some more of the guitar tracks in the mix. So I'm gonna group these guitar tracks so that I can adjust their volume together. And I'm just gonna boost these up now. So let's see how that sounds.
I'm living life like this a fantasy. No guarantee if this is meant to be. I gotta reach higher every day. Build an empire, I would say. Hey, all these haters, why they mad at me? They see me climbing up to face reality. Achieving new goals, it's just how I roll. Had to kick out all the fakes that I used to know. I gotta make it, never looking back or taking L's. They look to see me fall, guess you don't know me well. I put on for my team and for the reason we can all exhale and celebrate the moments we done been through hell. I set my own goal.
So I really like the volume of where the guitars are now. And I think all I want to do at this point is do a simple EQ to take out some of the low end, which will allow more room for the bass and the kick, and just shape the guitars a little bit more. So let's hear how they sound. Let's actually, I really like actually this plugin, this API EQ for shaping like guitars specifically. So let's try this.
I'm living life like this a fantasy. No guarantee if this.
And one thing I'm gonna do too is I'm turning down my monitors really low so that I can hear the move that I'm doing more clearly. And when your monitors are louder, it's harder to tell exactly what you're doing EQ wise. So a cool trick is just lowering your monitors and putting it in mono. And that way you're gonna be able to hear the EQ move that you're doing a lot more clearly. So let's check it out.
I'm living life like this a fantasy. No guarantee if this is meant to be. I gotta reach higher every.
Take out the kick.
Fantasy. No guarantee if this is meant to be. I gotta reach higher every day. Build an empire, I would say. Hey, all these haters, why they mad at me? They see me climbing up to face reality. Achieving new goals, it's just how I roll. Had to kick out all the fakes that I used to know. I gotta make it, never looking back or taking L's. They look to see me fall, guess you don't know me well. I put on for my team and for the reason we can all exhale and celebrate the moments we done been through hell. I set my own goals. I pick up what you can't hold. Never give up my soul. I'm letting my dreams unfold, cause I gotta wait.
Niggas riding on the wave. It's my Richie, we the wave. And you know we on the way. And you know we on the way.
So honestly, all I did was move, I put 4 dB on 3K, and that just kind of accentuated the clarity and the tinniness, kind of I call it, the strings of the guitar, so that they just punch out a little bit more. But actually what I want to do before this is I want to figure out where I should high pass this guitar. So let's do that.
I'm living life like this a fantasy. No guarantee if this is meant to be. I gotta reach higher every day. Build an empire, I would say. Hey, all these haters, why they...
Somewhere right around 100. And sometimes it's kind of nice, like in this acoustic guitars, sometimes it's nice to have some of that low end in it. It just gives it some warmth, you know? So I'm actually gonna try and figure out if I can boost some low end here.
And you know we on the way.
I'm gonna actually put this here, because whatever low end I boost here, I wanna make sure that this is gonna chop it off anything below here.
And you know we on the way.
I'm living life like this a fantasy. No guarantee if this is meant to be. I gotta reach higher every day. Build an empire, I would say. Hey, all these haters, why they mad at me? They see me climbing up to face reality. Achieving new goals, it's just how I roll. Had to kick out all the fakes that I used to know. I gotta make it, never looking back or taking L's.
So I like that a lot. Let's play some more on the track. So basically, as I'm going through this mix, all that I'm doing is playing through the song and hearing the next thing that captures my attention, that I want to accentuate, or that I want to reduce the harshness of or clean up. So I'm literally just looking and going through the mix and looking at the next thing like, all right, can I clean this up? Yes. All right, this sounds good, but how can I accentuate that? Go. So as soon as you hear your ear, as soon as your ear is gravitated towards any one element, stick to it and just plan on focusing on that element in the mix at that time and get it done.
Every day, build an empire, I would say. Hey, all these haters, why they mad at me? They see me climbing up to face reality.
So sometimes I like to get the vibe of the vocal kind of going. And by that, I mean, I want to throw a slight delay on here, just to give it even more space and just get the vibe of how I'm envisioning the vocal to be. So let's do age delay. Solo safe the delay. I would do analog off, just because there's a little bit of hiss in there that comes in, which, I mean, you may want it. In this instance, I don't really want the hiss. So then we're gonna route this again to the vocals, because this is a vocal delay. And then on here, this is our lead track here. On this lead track here, we're just gonna send to the delay. And I don't have the tempo for the song, but we're gonna figure it out.
I'm living life like this a fantasy. No guarantee if this is meant to be.
That's actually right on tempo. So it seems like they must have recorded at 120. So let's reduce take out, like, to make the delay sound more natural, usually there's not a lot of high end in the delay, or low end. So you wanna kind of get your frequency bands together. And the nice thing about the age delay is you can do that right here. So I'm gonna bring this down and bring this up.
I'm living life like this a fantasy. No guarantee if this is meant to be. I gotta reach higher every day. Build an empire, I would say.
Bring down the feedback because a little bit too much.
I'm living life like this a fantasy. No guarantee if this is meant to be. I gotta reach higher every day. Build an empire, I would say. Hey, all these haters, why they mad at me? They see me climbing up to face reality. Achieving new goals, it's just how I roll. Had to kick out all the fakes that I used to know. I gotta make it, never looking back or taking L's. They look to see me fall, guess you don't know me well. I put on for my team and for the reason we can all excel.
So that sounded pretty good to me. And then a cool trick is sending the output of the delay to the vocal. So now I'm going to put this into, or not to the vocal, but to the reverb, sorry. So I'm gonna send this delay to the reverb, which is plate, boom. And you wanna hear that delay just kind of swimming in the background, like just very natural. And here we go.
I'm living life like this a fantasy. No guarantee if this is meant to be. I gotta reach higher every day. Build an empire, I would say.
So I hope you can hear that. It added some stereo effect to the delay, since the reverb plate is a stereo plate. So that sounded pretty good. Now I'm getting the vocal sound kind of how I want it. And now I'm just gonna shape all the other tracks literally just right around that vocal.
I'm living life like this a fantasy. No guarantee if this is meant to be. I gotta reach higher every day. Build an empire, I would say. Hey, all these haters, why they mad at me? They see me climbing up to face reality. Achieving new goals, it's just how I roll. Had to kick out all the fakes that I used to know. I gotta make it, never looking back or taking L's. They look to see me fall, guess you don't know me well. I put on for my team and for the reason we can all excel. And celebrate the moments we done been through hell. I set my own goals. I pick up what you can't hold. Never give up my soul. I'm letting my dreams unfold, cause I gotta wait.
Niggas riding on the wave. It's my Richie, we the wave. And you know we on the wave. And you know we on the wave. Niggas riding on the wave. It's my Richie, we the wave. And you know we on the wave. And you know we on the wave.
So since this solo guitar is by itself, I want to make sure that it's coming up the middle, since it's really important. So all I'm gonna do to do that is use this S1 plugin and make sure that the volume is equal on both sides. So let's go to a part where the guitar is coming in. Here we go, here. So that's pretty good. I used my ears and I just used the judgment of the plugin. Hey, what's going on, guys? If you're someone who struggles with mixing, I have a free resource that I would love to share with you and that I think that could really help you. It's a brand new mini course that I've uploaded to my website called 6 Mix Finalizers. In this course, it's going to teach you 6 different ways that you can finalize your mix. I know a lot of the times we get to the ending of our mix stage and we're just unsure if our mix is completely finished. By taking this mini course, you're going to have complete confidence and satisfaction in that final mix that you do put so much time and energy into, and you're going to be so confident in finishing it and finalizing that mix. This course is also going to teach you 6 different ways to enhance your mix at the end of the mixing stage. So it's going to give you some tips and tricks for things to look out for that a lot of people miss and a lot of people don't look out for when they're finalizing their mix. It's going to show you how to get the perfect vocal volume in your mix. It's going to show you how to tighten up your bass, get more punch, a lot of great things to enhance your mix right at the end as you're about to finalize it. So if you want complete confidence and satisfaction with your mixes and just knowing that, yo, I've done everything that I possibly could and I know that this mix is done now that I've taken this course and I learned a few things, you can totally take that course completely for free. Link is in the description below to take that course on my website. So I hope I can show you guys a few things and become your teacher. Peace.